honor of kicking off our conversation today. The story of a company that has grown to such an extent, but very few people know the name of, is the Olien Group. They keep quiet about the deals they do. They don't like a lot of noise being made about them. But it is hard to ignore a company that is literally a rags to riches story, and now has stakes in everything from Credit Suisse to Coca-Cola to real estate investments around the world. Lubna, I'm going to let you tell us the story of where you come from, how the business has grown from where it was to where it is now, and how does it work, since we know so little about the group.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you all for listening. Our company, the Olien Group, was started next year. We will be celebrating our 70th anniversary. It was started in 1947 in Saudi Arabia. My father was the founder of the group. He unfortunately is no longer with us. He started as, he was throughout his life an Aramco employee, took a leave of absence from Aramco in 1947, mortgaged his house, took a loan, and took a subcontract with Bechtel to build, who at that time were building the pipeline from Saudi Arabia to Lebanon. That was then. Now we are operators and financial investors. He started his career by looking and seeing how much Saudi Arabia and what were the needs of Saudi Arabia. And he started building operating companies then. We started in contracting, insurance, and until importing consumer goods, heavy industries. And in '61, his bankers advised him, why not open letter of, in order to facilitate opening letter of credits, have some investments in the US. And that was his beginning of investing in the US in the early '60s. That first investment became a passion, and that's how we started investing outside Saudi Arabia. So where we are now, we are financial investors outside the Arab world and operators and financial investors in the Arab world. Currently, my brother took over, when my father passed away, my brother took over the chairmanship of the group, Khalid, and my sister Hudam is the president and CEO of our operations in Americas. She's based in New York, and I am in charge of our operations in the Arab world. In the Arab world, we are operators as well as financial investors, and we have around 15,000 people in the in the MENA region, and outside the Arab world, we're a very, very small group of people working in the investment area. Around 150 people. We have offices in New York, London, Athens, and of course, all in the Arab world.
I think the interesting part of this is the names that you took in of your siblings. You are a bit of a game changer. When you joined the business in what, 18 years ago?
No, I joined
1983, was it?
1983.
1983, when you joined the business, you were the only woman in the business. You had to wait for 18 years. That's where I got the number wrong. 18 years for the first woman to join you in the company. We hear a lot about how it's so difficult for Saudi women to go to work, to drive, to fly, and I know we'll pick up with that with Naval tomorrow. Do we have the perception wrong about Saudi women? Are the changes that we're seeing better than what we think they are?
I certainly hope so. I was the only woman in Saudi Arabia. Outside Saudi Arabia, we had many women in our group, but we're talking, yes. So you're right, I was the only woman in our group for 18 years. In 2001, I hired Hannah, a young lady, to start the journey for us to hire women. It was difficult at that time. We were the first private company to embark on that mission in Saudi Arabia. In 2009, the government did encourage, that is when a lot of women started coming back from education abroad or education, and there was huge unemployment in women, the government did go to the private sector and say, please start hiring women. I have to say women were employed, but they were mostly in the government, in healthcare and in education. So those were the two sectors women worked. The banking sector, which were publicly listed, did have some women working, but environment was segregated.
But has it changed for the better, or is it still a bit of a status quo there?
No, well, now in our group, we have around 500 plus women in our group. That's starting from, they represent around 25% of our Saudi workforce. Unfortunately, much less from the total workforce. But changes for women really, I think the major steps we saw was in 2013 when we had a number of women appointed to our consultative council, Majlis al-Shura. We had 30 women appointed there, so they represent around 20%. The consultative council is like the parliament here. So we have 20% female representation there. Then we had elections. Women were allowed to run for local councils, and we had a very huge turnout in 2015, both women running and voting, and we had around 20 women who won seats out of 2,000, but we had some women win. Unfortunately, last month we had Chamber of Commerce elections, and women did run, but none made it. So we have seen quite a bit of progress in terms of women employment. In terms of education, I mean, that's the biggest breakthrough, I think. The literacy rate for women was extremely high. Now we have 91% literacy rate. Women in universities are much more than men. And that's why this is one of the reasons we had quite a bit of unemployment for women. So there has been some changes, not as much as a lot of us would like, but
are the changes that we're looking for a bit Western in the perception, and is it a different story when you're on the ground in Saudi?
Well, I think you have to take the changes not only relative to the society you're in. So within the society, some very conservative see the changes are moving too fast. Others who see it as moving too slow. The issue of women driving, as much as it is debated outside, it is hugely debated in the country as well. And so you have obviously people opposing it and seeing it as a reason, this is a symbol for women liberation, and so it's a quietly even though I have to say women do drive in the desert in Saudi Arabia. So Bedouin women have been driving for a long time, but still for some very conservative people see this as a point that they still want to oppose and be again. Personally, I think it's coming very soon. We have, and I hope it will come very soon, we have also many other issues we have to deal with as women as well.
It's a long story, but I do want to make a bit of a note. If you have a question, do put up your hand. This is a very interactive session, so it's not just us chatting away on this stage. So raise your hand and the mic gatherer will come to you. I think we have one already. We have two. You're popular.
Yeah.
Hello, Lubna. It's a pleasure to see you on this special occasion. We were proud to welcome you as a speaker at a former ARWF occasion. My question is about the new economic vision for Saudi Arabia and the Kingdom, 2030. This is a very ambitious economic plan that is meant for the whole Saudi society, empowering your youth, creating jobs. Could you kindly brief us more about it? Thank you.
Do you want to take more questions, or?
Why don't we take that one first?
Well, for those of you who haven't heard about this, this is a major transformation exercise that Saudi Arabia has embarked on. And it has to do basically upon the vision of the country that we are too dependent on oil and we have to diversify the income from being oil dependent and get other sources of revenue to the country. As most of you know, Saudi Arabia changed its policy 3 years ago or 4 years ago in oil, and the view was we're going to focus on our market share on oil rather than be the swing producer. So, and slowly we have seen the income and the revenue from oil decline. So the Vision 2030 is we have to try to see this reliance on oil become much less. A lot of plans have been happening here, and there has been now a lot of programs have been going there in terms of what is going to happen there. One of the major is to cut down the subsidies on oil, gas, and electricity. That by itself is going to bring around 200 billion Saudi riyal of income. There was a talk about the whole GCC introducing VAT in 2018, so trying to diversify. But the main part of it here is on the private sector, involving much more the private sector in hiring people, encouraging industries, encouraging foreign investors to come to the country, encouraging more women participation in the country, and doing quite a bit of privatization. This is truly a game changer in Saudi Arabia. What is happening for all is a major effort that is being done to see where can we diversify the income and remove the oil dependence from the country on oil. There is a lot of enthusiasm about it. I don't know how familiar you are, but I would say 60% of our population is below the age of 25. So we have very, very youthful population. And they all see this, the majority of them see this as a true game changer for our society. So there is a lot of enthusiasm. And there has been quite a bit of change in our cabinet. Number of ministers has been changed. The age is much more younger than what it was. And a number of, there are KPIs, and they've all have set out what are their plans, what are their projects, when do they want to establish it. And there has been complete transparency of how this vision is going to be accomplished.
When you look at that then, where are the interesting investment opportunities that you're seeing in connection with that diversification?
Well, one is privatization. I think we will see quite a bit of privatization, investments in more infrastructure. But given what I said about the youthful population, you will see a lot of in the consumer area. In the healthcare. Healthcare now is mostly government, and government is trying very much to privatize the healthcare. So there is a lot of opportunity. We as a group are trying to focus more on it. We are in healthcare, and some of our operating companies, we see great, tremendous opportunities in healthcare. All consumer, the youthful consumer, I mean, our youth are very much tech savvy. They are on social media, and what they want to and they want to aspire is similar to youth everywhere. So consumer goods, from technology, food, clothes, everything is in demand there. I think between Saudi Arabia and UAE, we have probably the largest number of malls in the world, and so a lot of demand for retail and consumption. And you have a relatively affluent youth who have quite a bit of spending power.
Would that mean you would put your money on anything connected with the youth, and are you doing that right now?
Well, we are in, as a group, we are in fast food. By the way, it is very competitive environment. If you see the number of outlets of hamburgers in Saudi Arabia and the UAE, I haven't seen, I think the number of different outlets is more than I've seen in London. So there is a great demand for consumer foods, consumer goods, and all of that.
I think we had a question at the back, and then Sheikh Lubna wanted a question as well. And if you could make your questions really short, because we literally have 5 minutes, so
okay.
I want to squeeze as much in.
Last year, we hired the first 7 women to be sales representatives in Saudi Arabia in our medical device business. What is your advice to help make that a respectable job in the community, and also to network these wonderful women within their community with successful women like yourself?
Which company was that? In which
Johnson
area?
& Johnson.
Johnson. Okay. By the way, there are many networks for women in Saudi Arabia. There is one very strong one called Sila, and many other networks. Women are very connected in Saudi Arabia. As I said, they're very much on social media, so there is plenty of opportunity of that, and it's easy to reach out. There are really hundreds of organizations for women. Social media would be one of the best. Twitter is very big in Saudi Arabia, but if you want, I would be able later on to guide you specifically.
I think we had a question from Sheikh Lubna, if we can get her a mic.
By the way, Lubna is not a common name.
And we have a funny story that both of us go to Davos, and we're only 2 Arab women, and both are called Lubna. Lubna, I had the honor of speaking at your corporation in Riyadh, and I was quite impressed with your personal endeavor of employment for employing women in all your organization. I think it's a great story to tell the crowd here, because not every woman can do that or want to do that.
Well, thank you. Lubna was very kind. We have started Olayan Women Network Forum, OWN, we call it OWN, and this is a group. I have to say, I got the idea from Colgate-Palmolive. They have a women forum. We are partners with Colgate-Palmolive, and they asked me to go and speak there, and I saw the power of that network. So it was established five years ago, and what we do is once a year, we bring all our women in the group and have them meet with the senior leadership. And we always bring an inspirational speaker, and we have 500 women in the group, but usually this forum is attended by 100. We have around 38 companies in the group. 36 now have hired women. Some have reached 14, 15%. Some have reached of total employment women, 5%. We have a diversity index. We have an annual award for those who achieve the highest hiring. And this year, Coca-Cola Saudi Arabia, Kimberly-Clark won the awards. So we try to challenge the general managers to hire more women. We do quite a bit of training. We have 136 women working across many factories in Saudi Arabia. So we try. What we're trying now is to move women to senior positions. And that, I think, is one of the difficulties we are facing. But having said that, we have 3 executive women in our group in Saudi Arabia, and we have many in supervisor and managerial positions.
We have time for one more question, which has to be really short and a very short answer. So there we go.
I'm going to jump in. So I served on the board of General Electric, and 2 years ago, as you know, with Tata Services and Aramco, we opened a women's IT center, and it's been 2 years now, and we're up to 1,000 women employed there, and I was fortunate to go for the opening. Curious now, as I've stepped down from the GE board, how is that working, and are there other opportunities like that?
It's working very well. Women in Saudi Arabia are very good in IT, in computer, and I think GE and Aramco had a great idea, and this entity really does a lot of outsourcing for many companies, and it has been a great success, and it was a brilliant idea to have.
I think because we're running out of time, it's just a one-word answer I'm looking for. Your siblings and you are known by initials: KSO, LSO, HSO. The fourth one, nobody knows which one has been left out. Which one has been left out?
The smartest one who decided not to work.
Let's have it.
And she is HSSO. Okay, but really.
There you go. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
giving us your time.